ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Polyhedron Collider cast, episode 98. I'm Steve Tudor.
I'm Andy Lewis.
And tonight I will be Sid Gill.
Are you someone else at other times?
I'm not sure what I've given away too much of my private life there. I felt a bit stars in the eyes for a minute.
Jill Sandeep other times?
I'm not Jill Sandeep today, no, thankfully.
Oh, okay. Disappointing nerds the world over since 2004.
Building hopes and smashing them down, mate. That's me.
Yeah, you look a bit pink, Andy.
Yes, that is because I am sunburned to
It's even worse than that, mate. You've got panda eyes going on as well.
That's because I've had shades on for 2 days, whilst the rest of me has been slowly cooked.
So you looked like I did on Saturday night. Because that's what I was like on Saturday night. I didn't realise until, because Sid and Sue came round, and it was, we basically spent the entire day sitting in the backyard, and I got in the house and went, "Ooh, what's wrong with my neck?" Looked in the mirror and went,
"Oh, yes." Have you gone through pink beyond lobster?
Yeah, I kind of was approaching that. I was not quite full lobster though. I was lucky there.
Yeah,
I didn't go full lobster.
Now, the problem is I've spent literally 2 days in the sun now, and with no sun cream on at all on Sunday, so yesterday. I had some on my ears and the back of my neck, thankfully, so they're actually all right. But my face, not so much. So it started peeling already. This morning I did put some on, so it's not been too bad. But yeah, it's not great. I could feel the heat from my face, which is never a good sign. Usually, though, it does fade after a couple of days because I have what I call the lab tan from being, spending 4 years underground doing my PhD just in a laser lab. There's absolutely no sunlight ever hit my sun for 4 years. So I'm convinced that my skin is that white, it just reflects the sun.
Now, what did Baz Luhrmann teach us, Andy? If there's one thing you take away from it, wear sunscreen.
Yes, I know.
Either that, I'll do what I did and use an entire quart of aloe vera.
Nice.
I got me. Sid's looking rather smoked there, isn't he?
A little bit. It's high melanin. What can I say?
Bastard.
To be fair, though, I did have I can tell I'm getting old because at the top of my head, yesterday was definitely feeling a little bit tender. It wasn't like burnt. It was just feeling a little bit, tender.
See, mine's sore because I've now got a bit of a bald spot. My head has actually started to burn, and because there's just enough hair there to get in the way of the sunscreen, I can't put any on my head, so my scalp just burns, and it's quite painful.
It's funny you should say that. You know when Alora posted the picture of you, I don't remember what you were doing. I think you were nailing the salmon to the board.
I was nailing salmon to wood, yes.
And the first thing that came to my mind, ignoring the salmon completely, was, well, Andy's getting bald.
Yeah.
Honestly, watch the video. I nearly posted it. I thought, nah, I won't slut shame him in front of everyone.
I know.
But, mate, honestly, it's thinning like a demon. Because I'm so short, I don't often see it, unless I'm going around standing in a box. But oofed.
Oh, I'm well aware of my follicular detriment.
You really got to worry is that front bit becomes an island.
Here?
Yeah, you got a little bit at the front.
It is. I mean, my hairline is receding something terrible, but it's not producing an island, thankfully. And if it does, it's getting shaved.
What was the name of the guy off Neighbours who ended up in all the American TV shows about 10 years later? Exactly
Guy
that.
Pearce?
Jim Robinson.
Yeah, that was it. He had like a 3-inch circle on his forehead, a unicorn of hair.
He was
played Paul Robinson.
Oh, Jim Robinson.
Jim Robinson. Oh, Alan Dale.
Might be. He was one in 24. He was in 24 and stuff like that.
That's it. Yeah, he plays a lot of the bad guys. Yeah, that's Alan Dale. Yeah, that's him.
I finally got to the bottom of my magic beans.
Did you?
Oh!
Was I right? Was it a con?
But no, well, it was a bit of a letdown, but we'll get to that. So, I know anyone who's been listening know that around about Christmas time, I got sent 3 beans by Board and Dice. Board and Dice are just they're crazy. I was half expecting a box of frogs when I saw I was getting a delivery for them. Yeah, you might get a review copy for a game, you might get a box full of magnetic tape. Well, I got a box with 3 beans in it, and the beans have been inscribed with like a little smiley face and a letter and instructions to grow them. So I grew them. I've got some pots, I've got some compost, grew them. Well, I say grew them. One grew, one didn't grow, one decomposed completely into nothingness. And then about 3 weeks ago, the one that didn't grow suddenly showed signs of life and decided to grow. It's now about 4 inches tall.
Nice.
The first one is now actually about 50 centimetres tall. It's getting a bit leggy. It's going to have to actually get planted somewhere. So I wasn't quite sure what I was supposed to do. So I went back to instructions and I was supposed to get in touch with Board and Dice, and they gave me a code, which gave me a link to a website, which had a little bit of a riddle on there, which had nothing to do with the actual beans. There was a little riddle I had to solve to get further. It's fairly straightforward once your brain kind of clicked into gear. Then I had to put in the order of the height of them. So each one had a different letter on it, so I had to put the highest, the middle one, and the lowest one in that. Mm-hmm. And it gave me a bespoke character for the Wyrmwood Tales. No, sorry, the Children of Wyrmwood Escape Tales.
Ooh.
Escape game.
Oh, that's quite cool.
So I've actually put it on our Twitter account, and if I remember, I'll put it on the Facebook account as well. So there's a little thing there. So if you want to use that instead of the one that came with the game, anyone who's listening, please feel free. Please feel free. I would say, due to the stats, it's come up with like the worst charisma possible. It's like 4 stats, and the bottom one, I think they can go up to 10, and it's got a charisma of 2.
Is that because one of yours decomposed and died?
It could well be, yes.
So you have the charisma of a zombie?
Possibly.
Skills. Good effort.
Nice.
Oh, well, at least we've got to the end of that tale now. That's only 4 months later.
Exactly, yeah. And what's really annoying is I probably could have resolved this when they first grew, so I could have done it about 2 months ago. I was expecting some revelation, like they were going to grow into some weird shape or something.
That would be some impressive genetic engineering if they'd managed to do that.
Well, they'd burnt all the letters on the side of the beans, so I thought, and one of the leaves is doing like really distorted. So right. There's a proper name from the first 2 leaves that come out the seed. One of them is one of the ones that was obviously underneath where they've lasered on the letters. So you could see there was some distortion in the leaf, a little bit licking out of it, almost like a bug's eating it, but it couldn't have done. So I thought that might be it. I thought there'd be some kind of puzzle when you join all 3 of them together or something, but no, it wasn't that. It was just measure the 3 heights, and that was it.
You've finally managed to get one of the best games I've ever played, Mr. Tudor.
Well, partly did it to shut you up. I mean,
it's a good policy.
Well, it doesn't work though, does it?
No.
Nothing shuts you up.
Not often, no.
So what you don't know, dear listener, is Andy has been bugging me. It's in the second to last podcast we mentioned Tainted Grail, and Andy said I would love it. And in the last podcast we mentioned about Andy's painting of Tainted Grail. Well, since then, every time a second-hand copy of Tainted Grail has appeared on any kind of Facebook group or eBay or anything like that, Andy has sent me a link going, here you go, Steve. Here you go.
It's at least 3 of them I've sent now. Get amongst it, go on. Nudge, nudge, nudge. This one's a good price. Bloody hell it is. Oh, I can't resist that. Well done, Steve.
Yeah, the last one was a good price because it was just the base box and the stretch goal, so it didn't come with any of the extra additions. And I had a quick look into how much it would cost me to buy a brand new copy. Now, no one's got it in stock at the moment. No one's got a brand new copy in stock. But those that did and had the RRP prices, I was basically getting the stretch goals, Kickstarter stretch goals for free.
Yes.
I was basically paying the same price. It was like, okay, I'm just going to point that is a good deal.
Yes, it is a good deal. Yes, and the thing is, beyond those 2 boxes, you really don't need anything else. Because all the other boxes, apart from the Red Death, are just miniatures. So unless you have a horrible painting fetish and the time to do it, you're not missing out. So you've got the 2 main boxes. That's giving you 3 campaigns now.
That's fair enough then.
Yes.
And do you have that point when you buy something second-hand off someone and you're not quite sure whether you've been conned or not? Because I ordered it. I sent over the money via PayPal. It wasn't a small amount of money, let's be fair. And then the excuses started to come in.
Oh, no.
Oh, I was going to send this today, but I couldn't find a box big enough. Okay. Oh, I've got the shipping label shipped, but the shipping company haven't turned up today. And it was them for a couple of days. And to be fair, at the end, it was genuine errors. But you know that moment you think, you know when someone's conning you, they're
Yep.
going to just give you excuse after excuse after excuse.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a bit like that for a moment.
I've had that before. Just once, thankfully, but I've had it. You're like, oh yeah, I'll get it to you tomorrow. I'll get it to you tomorrow. Will you now? Okay. Oh well. Oh, I'm glad you've got it. Have you opened it yet?
I've opened it because it was still in shrink.
That's pretty good, actually.
The person hadn't opened it at all. So, yes, I've opened the shrink on it, and that's it. I've opened it, looked at it, gone, ooh, then put it back.
Well done.
And now I need to find some time to actually play the damn thing.
Yes. It'll probably take you... I do recommend you go through the kind of intro, here's how to play tutorial bit. That'll take you about an hour, give or take. And that'll give you, that'll take you about 90% of the rules, which is all you really need. And then you'll go into it proper. Don't do what I did and spend ages trying to work out where the 15 bloody cards are for the character, because there's like a deck of 25 cards for each character, and use like 15 of those 25, basically going through the tutorial. But it doesn't really tell you that. I mean, it's kind of obvious looking back on it, because obviously I've been a bit of a thicky bobo. But I'm looking through all of it, because I genuinely thought some of them were like specific cards, because some of them are. But most of them aren't, and you're like, oh, okay, this is the introductory pack. Where the hell are the rest of these 15 cards? So I'm looking through the box, and are they in the expansion box? No, they aren't. Where the hell are... Oh, Andy, for goodness sake. Anyway, so that's all that. Don't do that. But when you go into it, you're going to get your arse kicked.
I can guarantee that, yeah.
It is brutally hard, but it is awesome. But yes, you will need hours and hours and hours to play it. So if you haven't got like half a day, don't bother.
No, I think it's going to end up like permanently installed on the Geek and Sun table. I think.
Yes,
just tip the menhirs over and put the slats back on.
That's a good idea. Yes. The thing is, it suffers from just one more.
The old Civ syndrome.
Yeah, that's it. Just one more, or just go one more tile, or just go one more thing, or one more day, and oh yeah, it suffers, and all of a sudden 3 hours have gone. Are you coming to bed? Just one more tile. Well, I hope you enjoy it after all of this.
So do I. It wasn't a small investment.
No, it's worth it though. I genuinely think it's really, really good, story-wise. Anyway, what else has been happening? Yes, I've got sunburned. That's been fun. But I was learning how to cook on fire yesterday.
That must be quite an uncomfortable experience if you're on fire while you're trying to cook.
I wasn't on fire, thankfully, but the meat was. Laura booked us in for a cooking on fire course quite a while ago now, actually, but it's been put back a couple of times, obviously because of the pandemic, and we ended up going yesterday. And there's a number of different ways you can cook food. On mostly meat, admittedly, so not very vegan friendly. Although apparently Adam, the guy who was running it, does do sort of vegetarian and vegan things as well. So sort of roasted veggies and various glutinous masses that approximate meat that are apparently quite tasty. But we had 2 massive racks of beef, a leg of lamb, an entire salmon, several mackerel, 3 or 4 bream, a big pile of mussels.
And today you have had a particularly difficult shit.
I have not even got that far.
I mean, it did look cool from the photographs.
It did
look impressive.
It was a really good day, actually, yes, hence all the sunburn. But yeah, it's all about what they call either long and slow or hot and fast. So most of what we did was long and slow. So that the salmon that you mentioned that I'd been nailing to wood, that took 2 hours to cook. A piece of salmon, just the salmon fillet. So it's only about, half an inch thick. But you kind of nail it to a plank of obviously untreated wood, kind of stand it end on in the barbecue. Or in the fire pit, as it happens. So we're using a kadai like I've got in the garden, and then you put the fire on sort of one side of the kadai. You don't put it in the middle. So then you can put these sort of planks of wood either side of it. So just you get a gentle heat for a little while, and you get a nice sort of smoky flavour in it. And you can put a little sort of honey glaze on it towards the end, just to give it that nice crunchy snap. And at the meantime, and all of that, we had a leg of lamb just basically dangling over it, just slightly out of the fire, which took 4.5 hours to cook. But by Christ, it was worth it.
You know how I said at the weekend I was going to unfriend you?
Yeah.
And I even dropped the C-bomb.
You did.
And I didn't make apologies for it. I'm about to unfriend on you right now. Because all you've done, right, it's like a trauma victim. I'm reliving the pain and anguish that I went through yesterday, seeing all these messages come through to me.
Oh, And that was only like about a tenth of the photographs I took.
You dickhead.
And it was a free bar as well, which I think was the final nail in the coffin.
You see? Unfriend him.
yeah.
I just unfriend him. All listeners, unfriend the bell end. Simple. I'm going to start a campaign to have everybody unfriend Andy.
It was very good. It was really, really good. I strongly recommend it. I've actually had a few people, yourself included, asking me, who does this course? How can we get on it?
It sounds like the perfect thing for when we're all allowed out for a bunch of blokes to go to and just sit and eat and drink and cook with fire.
Definitely, yes. It's because it was all outside. Obviously, we were all because we couldn't do too much hands-on, obviously, because of the pandemic. But ordinarily, you get to do all the preparation and all the rubs and all these sorts of things. So it's definitely worth doing. I think he's got a course in June. There's only a few places left on that, but I don't know when his others are. But you can find him at shropshire.lad on Instagram if you want to have a look at his tasty foods. And you can get in touch, drop him a direct message or anything. His name's Adam. He's really, really good, actually. Really nice guy.
So what did you get thrown in for that little plug? Was it
nothing
plank of
at all,
salmon to
sadly.
take home, a few mussels?
No, sadly nothing.
Shameless, my friend, shameless.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, the thing is, it's worth it. It was an absolutely stunning day. I mean, I will say now, it wasn't a cheap day. But you do get all of that food. I could not eat any more at the end of the day. I wanted to because it was so bloody tasty. I just couldn't move. And a few beers and stuff thrown in as well. So it was a good day all round.
Cool. Should we talk about some news?
Yes.
I saw this bit of news and I was intrigued by this. So, the Fantasy Flight founder, who is no longer part of Fantasy Flight, Christian T Petersen, has bought back the Fantasy Flight Game Center in America. Now, this is some kind of fabled place that we were all going to say we were going to visit one place when we were in Worcester talking to friends gaming there. So basically, it's like this one giant kind of warehouse kind of size place, as far as I can work out, where there's just loads of game tables with all set up with Fantasy Flight games. So when Fantasy Flight was at its peak, and it was like a open kind of most days kind of thing. You can pop in there. They have the shop as well, so you can buy your games, your LCG expansions, and loads of places you can go play all their games. Now, of course, Fantasy Flight merged with Asmodee. And it's worth pointing out merged. A lot of people say they bought them out, but it wasn't. It was a merger. Then Christian T Petersen left Asmodee, because he then became Asmodee North America. He left that to form his own company and do some other projects, which have all been a bit kind of, no one's quite sure what he's releasing. But I find it interesting he's now gone and bought back that game centre.
Interesting.
What that means and what's going to lead to the future, I don't know, but I thought it was worth talking about.
Definitely a warehouse full of FFG stuff. Because let's be honest, there's very few FFG games that we hate or don't like. Most of them have all been, it's all right, I think, at worst. Because I think Outer Rim's probably the lowest one that we've played in recent times.
Of the recent ones,
yeah. And even that wasn't dreadful. It was okay. I think we were slightly underwhelmed by it, but it was all right. Final Hour, I think I said mixed reviews, but I think you and I kind of saw what it was trying to do at least. But other than that, I think we're pretty big fans of FFG. So yes, let's just go to this fabled ground and see what's going on. Although I don't expect there to be FFG games in there.
No, it'd probably be just like a gaming centre now, but it'll be interesting to see what it turns into, because I'm still fascinated as to what Mr. Petersen will be doing with whatever he's decided to do since he's left Asmodee.
So I guess he hasn't retained any of the IP that FFG retained now.
No, because Twilight Imperium is his kind of big baby, isn't it? Because apparently FFG started with him selling the first version of Twilight Imperium out of his boot of his car kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the timing was spot on in that he basically made the fourth edition, this fourth mega edition of Twilight Imperium, and then left. It was like, this is obviously his swan song and off we go kind of thing.
Okay.
So
We shall see.
In other news, there is going to be a movie based on the popular convention game Werewolf.
What?
What?
Exactly. Now, have either of you two played Werewolf?
No, I think Alora has.
No. So I know, Andy, you've played Two Rooms in the Boom. Haven't you?
I
Which
have, yes.
Which has got Two Rooms in the Boom is a kind of a game which was based off Werewolves. It's one of those games where you get loads of people. It's like 12, 16, 20 people, and some people are werewolves, some people are villagers. And the idea is that you have a day and night phase where the night time the werewolves choose someone they're going to kill.
Mm-hmm.
And then during the day, no one knows who's what, and you've got to discuss and decide who the villagers are going to kill. And the idea is the villagers are trying to kill all the werewolves.
This is the one that scales up like stupidly massive, isn't it? Is this?
Oh yeah.
You can
That's
have
why
like
it's
hundreds
a common
of people.
convention game because you can have. I don't know if you can do it with hundreds, but about 20 people because you've got to talk to each other and you've got to communicate and point the finger and things like that. So like 16 to 20 seems to be kind of peak. But yeah, apparently there's going to be a movie based on it, and I cannot work out how.
Or why.
Or more importantly, why, yeah.
No, that's pretty limiting. Unless it's just use the IP and make a generic werewolf movie. I don't know. Maybe. But I mean, there's plenty of them out there because you've got Van Helsing, which admittedly wasn't great, but, Kate Beckinsale.
Well,
and Hugh Jackman, it's got some star appeal. And then you've got the Underworld films, which is mostly vampires, but there's some werewolves in it somewhere.
Kate Beckinsale.
Again, there's a theme growing here. I can't think of any other werewolf films that are actually any good, though.
Teen Wolf?
Teen Wolf, sorry, yes, there you go. Yeah. That's actually a surprisingly good film.
It's brilliant.
Yes.
You've missed the best one.
Why?
Brotherhood of the Wolf.
That one's passed me by, Steve.
It is the best 19th century werewolf kung fu film you will ever see.
It sounds like it's about the only kung fu werewolf film I'll ever see as well.
That is a fairly impressive fusion you've got going on there.
I mean, it is like no other film in existence. It really isn't.
Good grief. Oh well. Do we have any release dates or intended?
Well, there's a trailer for it already.
Oh right, okay.
As for release date, I don't know.
Okay. Does it look bad? Have you seen the trailer?
It doesn't look particularly. I don't know. It looked pretty generic to me.
Okay.
July the 2nd, so it will go to the US cinemas on 25th of June, and it's going to be an online release on 2nd of July. So it's not actually that far away.
That is pretty close. An online release? Oh dear.
Well, that's what happened with most films now, isn't it?
I suppose so, yeah. Yeah, well, you have to at the moment, I suppose, don't you? Yeah. Well. In
other news, the Dice theme park has just launched on Kickstarter.
And Kickstarter immediately grassed you up when you backed it, Mr. Tudor. I've noticed you are all in already.
I am all in already. It should be pointed out that I was reminded about it when Rory was grassed up by Kickstarter. So there's a domino effect going on here.
I'm holding back. I don't know if I'm going to back it or not. We'll see.
Why is that?
Well, the thing is, I don't play Dice Hospital that often. Not because I don't like it. It's a good game. We just don't get it to table very often. And we play Chocolate Factory even less.
Fair enough, yeah.
Not because we don't like it, but Chocolate Factory is a horrible brain burner of a game. Sorry, it's really, really, really brain burning. It's a really nice game. It's not horrible. But I'm just wondering if I did back Dice Theme Park, whether we'd even ever play it, other than hey, we've got a game, let's play it. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I didn't end up backing Chocolate Factory, so yeah, it's kind of filling that gap for me. But I really like Dice Hospital. And it is a game I've played quite a lot, so I can see me playing Dice Theme Park as well.
I'm terrible at Dice Hospital. Really so bad at it. I don't know why. My brain just cannot cope with it at all. I'm awful at it.
Because it involves thinking about a lot of things at the same time. It's very difficult to get a good sequential thought process, whereas a lot of Euro games you kind of go, okay, get A to get B to get C to hand in this.
Possibly true,
thing.
Actually, yes.
Whereas Dice Hospital feels like, right, I've got 7 patients I need to cure. How am I going to do this? And you've got to do that kind of like parallel thinking, which is a different brain thought.
I think my brain is probably sequential. I should sit on an RS-232 bus, I think. Sorry, I'm serial rather than parallel.
You know what? I was wondering where you were going with that, and I'm glad you clarified it.
There you go. I've broken Sith already. We're only 5 minutes in.
That's it.
And last of all, I thought I'd highlight that Galaxy Trucker is getting a relaunch.
What? Oh.
So an updated Galaxy Trucker with new artwork, and it's coming out for $30/€30,
Now, that's not
which
bad.
seems a bargain this day and age.
Indeed. Sub 40 quid for a game, especially like a full-sized game. Because it isn't a mini game at all. It's not like just a deck of cards and a couple of meeples. This is like shitloads of counters and a board and a bunch of spaceships that you track around it. And is there a deck of cards as well? I can't remember.
Yes, deck of cards, because that's what you do, the missions. So you haven't played this, have you, Sid?
I think I have.
Because John's got it.
Yeah,
So
I think I've played it with John.
this or not.
But I'm just looking at it now, and the artwork is very different.
It's more colourful.
Yeah.
It's still got a similar kind of style, so it's still got a similar like kind of cartoony spacemen, but it seems to have brighter colours.
Yeah, it looks like it's got a lot more of the primary colours going on. But yeah, no, I think I've played that one. I remember it being quite a nice little game. If it's a one,
It is. I mean, it is hilarious just watching your spaceship limp to the finish line. We've had games where the person who's won has won because it is quite literally just one module, just like drifting over the finish line. Everything else has been shot off.
Sounds like what Fatima's Bounty is going to end up like.
Hey, we're not having bad words said about Fatima's Bounty. Thank you very much.
Well, for $30, that's not. Do we know when that's going to be released? Because it says pre-order here at the moment. So
summer 2021, but it is CGE, so Czech Games Edition, and they tend to release games at Essen. That's their big release window.
So we're looking till September, October time.
Yeah,
realistically.
Now, whether Essen's going ahead or not, I don't know. One thing I didn't put on the list, actually, is we've got some further details that Expo is still planning to go ahead on 31st of July till 2nd of August.
It is. I was looking at it earlier today, actually. I didn't go into much detail, but
what it's going to be, we don't know yet, because the organisers are waiting for guidance off the people who are, give the guidance on big events like this. So it could be a full-on Max Chat Games Expo like we're used to, or it could be a socially distancing Games Expo, which we've got no idea what that's going to be like.
I was going to say, because that's weird, unless you're all playing Warhammer 40k, where you're at the end of a 3-metre table, and that's perfectly fine. Don't you dare touch my miniatures, you'll ruin the paintwork, which is fine, and you won't spread the virus. But, if you're all sort of sat around trying to learn rules, that's going to be, okay, so turn 1! You're so far apart. I'm not sure how that would work. They'll say on their site at the moment they are hoping to obviously have as normal as possible. But as you say, Steve, we don't really know what that means.
I'm not entirely sure I can go.
No, because you're in court or something, aren't you?
Well, yeah, no. I what I always do is I always clear my diary for the weekend of Expo. Nothing gets in the way of Expo, and then Expo moved, didn't it? So I cleared that weekend, and then when somebody said, "Oh, we're going on this date," it's like, oh, I've already said I can do that weekend. It's also my wedding anniversary that weekend, so yeah.
That's a brave man.
Yeah, not that brave.
No Expo for you, Mr. Tudor.
No, there's no Expo for me.
Oh, well, Sid and I'll have to carry the torch.
Yes, I think I've made some elaborate arrangements to mean I'm childless that weekend as well.
How convenient.
Yes. So I might be flying solo. Dr. Lewis, if we are going to attend.
I will certainly do my best to attend, yes. I think for the rest of the year, I've got 1 week and a bit definitely planned in now in September. My brother's decided to treat us all as a family. We're all going up to Islay.
Very nice.
Indeed. Laura and I are going to spend some time in Scotland probably before that, but we shall see. But other than that, I probably have some leave to burn, so, book the Friday and the Monday off. Or, don't make the mistake that Steve and I keep making. Book the Monday off, because you will be banjaxed at the end of that weekend. Absolutely ragged. So you'll need the Monday to just cabbage.
Noted.
Yeah, we always make that mistake. We always think, no, we'll have the Thursday and Friday off beforehand, and then Monday, like trying to work on a Monday morning.
Yeah, it's not good. Plus, then of course you've got the excitement come down as well. So you're still really excited about it, want to play lots of games. So you can't concentrate in work because A, you're knackered, and B, you're excited, which is a weird combination. There's only so long you can run on adrenaline before your body goes, no, I've had enough. That's it. Game over. Anyway, we're looking forward to that. But yes, it's going to be an interesting one. I think the feel of it is probably going to be very different, even if the format is familiar. I think it might feel definitely quite cagey. And people are like, oh, don't touch me.
Well, it's gonna be weird because I've seen lots of people say they wouldn't go anywhere near such an event, and lots of people go, I'm desperate to get out of the house and do something. So it could go either way, couldn't it? Should we talk about some games?
Yeah.
Let's break the habit of a lifetime. Yes.
Let's talk about some games on this tabletop gaming podcast.
No. This is actually going to get the thumbs up from Elora because she keeps complaining we're talking about RPGs all the time. So I don't care about RPGs. I say, it's not just about you, you know.
You have explained to the reason why we're playing more RPGs is because of lockdown.
I have tried, yes. But I mean, like, she obviously does understand that. But because she has no interest, she doesn't care.
Fair enough.
I can see her point, but she's wrong, obviously.
I'll kick things off with Villagers Shifting Seasons.
Is this another expansion?
This is an expansion for Villagers. Yeah. Now, did I talk about this a few weeks back or not? Because my brain has farted.
No. You talked about... You've already done the Villagers expansion with all the shops and stuff in it. Which was a little... Streets. No, Streets, not Villagers. You've done Streets, which is a completely separate game.
That's right, because there's part of me thinking I would actually discuss this, but I obviously didn't. So Villagers Shifting Seasons is the first expansion as a, excluding all the Kickstarter stuff for Villagers. And I went through it with Dave Clark as designer, the publisher, so guy runs Sinister Fish, and we had to go on the old tabletop simulator, and he took me through it. Now what this basically is how some expansions change the game and some expansions add more. Mm-hmm. This is more. More stuff. So what it does actually is it adds loads more ways to score points. So in a normal game of Villagers, you only really score points at 2 points during the game, which are the two market phases. It's like a mid-game market and an end-game market. And that's the only time which you collect your coins and improve your score. In this, there's loads of ways in which you can get points during the game as well as the normal ways of doing it.
Okay, so it's giving you more of a salad.
Yes, indeed. It's improving the... Previously, it was just like, a crap buffet with just vol au vents and like chicken drumsticks
and sausage rolls.
Yeah. This makes it into a full-on buffet now.
Has this now expanded it into things like Gravelax and scones and... and that shrimp toast shit you get with the sesame seeds that everyone
sesame
hoovers.
Prawn toast?
That's brilliant stuff.
What kind of buffet? I mean, all right, a dodgy Chinese buffet, I grant you'll get some sesame prawn toast.
I'm being inclusive. There are many types of buffet in the world, especially if you went to Angel Chef in Worcester. That was just all you can eat, so you just filled your boots.
That would release your bowels if you had a couple of doses of that.
To be fair, I have been to actually like a wedding buffet and they had sesame prawn toast.
See?
And Andy is right, it got vacuumed. It's just like, the first 5 people were there going, they've got sesame prawn toast, like it's piled this high. Everyone else is going, where is it?
Sausages on sticks as well.
Oh, I like sausage on sticks.
Yeah.
Cheese with a bit of pineapple as well. I'm still a bit partial to that.
For the 70s hedgehog.
Yeah, man, it still ticks my boat. That does. I like it. Anyway, sorry, Steve. You were having a serious discussion there, and I've interjected with cheesy hedgehogs.
So what the game does is it adds... where the markets previously were under several stacks. There were several stacks of cards which marked how the game played out, so how long the game was. And it used to be, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, I think it was like the second and last stack had the 2 markets.
Yes.
Well, now there is something under every single card. So I think there's 6 stacks in total, so it adds 4 seasons. Oh. And these have different other little scoring mechanisms that come in as you go. It also has a whole bunch of extra villagers, and these extra villagers will do, like, get you points at the end of every round kind of thing. So rather than getting points and getting them at the end of the game or halfway through the game, they give you things that will give you a little trickle of points as you go along.
Okay.
And they've got the whole thing of, you've got to get the little tree of them. So you've got to get the first ones. You've got to get the blacksmith to get the coal miner to get the barrel maker and all that. So all that good stuff's still in there. The only other major rules change is there's now one extra round. Because apparently everyone said, everyone said the game ends too quickly and it feels like it could do with one extra round. So apparently they play tested it and found out that yes, one extra round is all it actually needed.
How did they not find that in original play testing?
I don't know. A lot of games developers say this, that you can play test it with 100 people and you send it to 1,000 people and all of a sudden they find something that none of the previous people did. It's the same with any kind of testing, isn't it?
I suppose so, yes.
Yeah, when it gets out to the public, God, my number of crazy things happen.
Well, look at Tapestry. That went mental because, the expansion for that fixed, apparently, a load of the issues that people found with Tapestry because they found that most of the civilizations were shit and hideously unbalanced. So I know Jamie kept a running sort of tally of all of the feedback that he'd had and how many wins people have had with different civilizations just to see which ones were more powerful or not. So I think he's kind of tapered some of them off in the expansion and obviously given them some of them a kick, but obviously I've not played the expansion, so I don't know. So
this is coming to Kickstarter, but it will be a very low cost thing. So if you've already got villagers, it's going to be, I think, £10 to £15 for the expansion.
Oh, that's all right,
is what I understand. So it also gives people who didn't get the. I think the game's out in retail anyway. But if you wanted all the extra Kickstarter stuff, like the all little wooden tokens and things like that, it gives you the opportunity to get all that again.
Will it fit in the base box? Do we know?
Well, I've got the base box, and that box is crammed full, so I sincerely doubt it.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, because I've got the same version of you have, because it's got the extra sort of Kickstarter editions in it with the chest of coins and things, and yes, that is pretty full, so that would be quite annoying if it didn't.
Not going to fit on there, but I don't know what he's going to do about a box. I think there might be a deluxe box.
Right, okay.
Because I've got the playmat as well. I bought that separately, so I think there's going to be a deluxe box that fits all that in and the playmat in. So
that would be nice. Yeah, the playmat would be pretty nice. Because I got the playmat with Tainted Grail. I'm now all about playmats. Well, the thing is, it does actually serve a really sensible purpose, other than obviously telling you where everything goes. Because on my table here, because it's made of 5, basically, scaffy boards, nicely polished and waxed and stuff, but because there's curve on them, they're all, and it's a rustic thing. It's not a flat table. There's curves and bumps and lumps in it. So if you put a playmat on top of it, it kind of irons a lot of those lumps and bumps out. So it's actually quite useful when you stick a board on top of it and it actually sits flat rather than kind of all over the place. So it does help.
See, annoyingly, Dave's got, if you go to Expo, he's got a whole table-sized playmat for doing the demo games.
Wow.
And it looks really cool, and Amanda, it's caught Amanda's eye basically.
Okay.
So all the time Amanda's like, "Where can we get one of them?" Well, I've got the playmat, but that's not that playmat, is it? That's a one-off for conventions, Amanda. Well, how do we get one?
You don't. You pay £200 and get one custom made, isn't what you do?
Yes. Yeah, but you know what Amanda's response to that is?
Pay £200.
Well, why haven't you bought
it? Yeah. Because I want an airbrush, Amanda.
Because I've spent all that money on Tainted Grail, Amanda.
Yes, there you go. You're in a lot of trouble, whatever you do. I noticed, or rather, actually, to be fair, Alora noticed the other day that you two were playing Unlock Star Wars because you posted something online. Was it your copy, Mr. Gill? Was this copy that you managed to flash in front of our eyes about 3 podcasts ago?
It was that very copy. The shrink got removed at Mr. Tudor's house at the weekend.
Nice.
Well, I thought,
we played it outdoors, which was very nice until the wind blew and half the cards went over the lawn.
I think that affected our time, if I'm honest.
If I'm honest,
I think
yes.
we should be given some extra bonus time for that.
That and technological problems, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Talk about that in a second. But yes, no, and we actually had a good little gaming session in Steve's back garden at the weekend.
Fantastic.
And we worked through 2 out of the 3 what's the word? Escapes, I guess. Want of a better word.
Yeah.
So yeah, really nice little game, actually. It was good fun. Sort of picked it up, I got it for Christmas, I think. And then when Steve was talking about the exit games a few weeks ago, I was reminded as it sat on my desk staring at me, and I thought, no, I'll pop that in the bag and we'll take it around to Mr. Tudor's, and if he's up for it, we'll have a wee blast. He was up for it. Little eyes lit up. Yeah! Amanda's eyes lit up. Sue was there going... But to be fair, I think she enjoyed it, actually.
Yeah.
I think all four of us had a nice little play on it. But we'll give you a bit of info. So it is the Unlock series of games, which are an app-supported escape room with a deck of cards, effectively. Distributed by Asmodee. I don't know who publishes it or anything like that, but I know it's distributed by...
Days of Wonder, I think.
I think it is.
Was it Space Cowboys?
Oh, yes, Space Cowboys. That's the name I saw on the back. And what you get in it is 3 campaigns. I don't know what the right word is, but I'm going to do campaigns. So you've got Escape from Hoth, a smuggler's thing, and some stormtrooper attack mission, basically. And they're all separate sort of standalone things, and a tutorial, and you just basically play through them. It's a bunch of stack of cards. You start with 3 or 4 cards at the start of the session, and in each card leads you towards unveiling other cards.
Right, okay.
And some of the cards, you have an app on your phone or your tablet, and each of the cards you can have a code or it's a machine. If it's a code, you punch in the code into the app. It tells you if you're right or wrong and leads you to the next card. If it's a machine, then there's like a little mini game often, or some kind of augmented reality affair, but not quite augmented reality. It's like a little thing to do to find the next clue kind of thing. So it's really quite impressed, actually.
It's really quite slick.
It was slicker than I was expecting.
Of all the escape room games, I think the Unlock ones are the slickest.
Yeah.
They seem to be very well polished.
And they also kept the use of the app to be about right, I thought. You didn't, the way they put in these little mini games felt like the right place to put a mini game, and it added something rather than just feeling like a bit of an unnecessary gimmick or faff or distraction. So it was really, really quite a good bit of fun. I enjoyed that. And the artwork on the cards was really quite cool. And it's Star Wars. And it was the first time I'd played a game with another human being for about a year. So, all of that stuff added into a good afternoon.
Excellent. So did you escape, or did you get beaten by the Empire and murdered brutally?
We escaped both times. And to be fair, our first time was marred by some technological issues. So a word of warning, listeners, if you are playing Unlock Star Wars, don't use a Samsung tablet. It don't work. And you'll spend 10 minutes looking like a real bunch of specialists in your friend's garden, walking around waving a tablet up in the air and looking at the sky, looking at the ground, trying to work out why the hell you can't find the information you think you should be able to find from this thing.
Because at first we thought it was just because we were using a tablet out in broad daylight, so you couldn't see the screen. So every so often I'd walk into the house with the tablets and go, I can't see. Basically, it was a little mini game where it gave you it's Hoth, so you got the little Hoth binoculars, and you were supposed to scan the horizon to find the droids.
Right.
So you lift it up and it gives you the binoculars view, and you go, "Oh, that's pretty cool. What am I supposed to do?"
Move it around, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you move it around, nothing happened.
Oh.
You put it down and it went fuzzy. So it looked as if you put the goggles down, put it back up. It's like, this isn't right. So we tried it. I mean, it was 10 minutes of us looking at this, trying to zoom in, trying to click on it, looking at it with better light. So we went, oh, screw this. Let's install the app on our iPhones. Installed it on our iPhones. Yeah, you're supposed to look round of it. It just didn't work on the Samsung tablet at all.
That's rubbish.
Don't know why. Could have been just my tablet.
Unknown issue?
We didn't really chase it. We should have chased it. But by that point, we kind of went, nah. And we just used the...
We're on the clock here.
Yeah, we just used the phones and carried on.
Nice one. Oh, well.
Yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed it. So we've got one left. And then...
we were going to do the last one, but then Jai wanted to go home and play Indiana Jones.
And we were a bit full from the Starship Enterprise as well. So you'd had a bit of a rotund feast by that point as well.
Yeah.
How long did each one take? roughly?
We did. It gives you an hour to do them in, so we did them in about 45 to 50 minutes.
Okay, that's not so bad.
We definitely got faster on the second way through because you get your eye into these things, don't you? So you see a couple of the tricks of the game.
Yeah, there's a certain kind of logic with them as well, which like when you first open them, you go, I don't get it. Like the Tatooine one. Sorry, not the Tatooine. Sorry, the Hoth one. The first 5 minutes of that, we were scratching our heads because we didn't know the logic of it. And basically what it is, you're supposed to look at the card and there's like a hidden number on the card, which gives you another card with more clues.
Okay.
But it was like, we were there going, well, that doesn't work with that. What are we supposed to do with that?
So I think that's probably my only criticism about this game, actually, was some of the puzzles, you did want to kind of pour people around one card, like get more people to see a card so you could all have a bit of a go. So with four of us, we were like passing the card around and it almost felt like either we had too many people, so maybe we were one or two people too many, or we needed like bigger cards, right, like an A5 card or something, so it could have been easier to see some of the detail in the text. But
okay.
And I think personally that's a common criticism of most of these escape room games. Yeah. We kind of gave up playing most of them with other people, me and Amanda, because we felt they worked best at two. I would say though, there is in the original, the very first unlock box, the third puzzle on that is specifically designed for four people.
Oh.
So you actually split up and do separate puzzles and then come back, like converge later on.
Interesting. Which
Which does actually work really well.
Okay. So mechanically, how does it work? Is it like time stories, or is it something different to that?
It's kind of it's something different to that. So the main thing in which it works is you'll get given items, and there'll be a blue item and a red item when you combine them. Mm-hmm. And if you combine them, you add the two numbers together and then draw that numbered card from the deck.
Right.
And it's obviously planned ahead, so it knows what stupid ones you're going to do, because you'll try something and it'll go, no, you idiot, that's the wrong one. And actually, one of the things that Unlock does, which some of them don't do, is if you get something wrong, it penalises you, so you lose a minute off the clock every time you get an answer wrong.
Oh.
So, and then there'll be other ones where you've got to enter a 4-digit code into the into the iPad or into the phone or whatever. And again, if you put the wrong code in, you lose a minute.
Right.
So it's one of the ones that really does encourage you to put the right answer in and not strong. We mentioned a few weeks back about using the disc and getting 2 out of the 3 numbers.
Yeah.
And then just
Brute
going
force
sequentially for the others. Yeah. This really does discourage you from doing that brute force thing.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and then you get like a landscape, like you'll get a picture card with multiple cards on it, and then you pull one card out and it'll tell you to pull another 3 or 4 out, and then it sort of expands the story out like that. So you're in a hangar at Hoth, and you'll pull out the hangar card, and it'll have other ones which will be a call out to a hangar door or a chest or something like that, and you can sort of play the scene like that. It's really quite neat.
Do you know what it feels like? It's a board game point and click.
Yes, it is that. Yes, that's quite an accurate description, actually.
Because, as you said, you get the card which shows you the wide view, and it tells you where you can investigate further, and that gives you more cards, which might be items and things like that. And you do combine items, the rubber chicken and the pulley kind of thing.
Yeah, it's unlike the exit ones, it is completely replayable. So you don't tear anything up, you don't destroy the card.
I was going to ask about that. So yes, okay. So you could hand it on to a mate.
For example, once I finish the last one, I'll drop it off with you or something, and you can play through it completely on your, completely separate, and it will be a same. You won't have any torn up cards or have to make anything up. It'll just be as it were. So nice. I think it's quite I quite like the concept of having it, playing it, and then handing it on as a let somebody else have a go. I think it appeals to me. That does.
Excellent.
But yes, I'd recommend it. I don't know how much they're about. I think 20, 25 quid, something like that, in that kind of ballpark. So they're not huge money, and there's 3 games in it. So we got a good afternoon out of it without any hassle, and we all enjoyed it. So I recommend it. I think.
Yeah.
Excellent. So that was Unlock Star Wars from Space Cowboys.
Yes.
What's next, boys?
Well, we did play a rather complicated game, didn't we, Sid?
Blooming heck, mate. This blew my mind, this did.
It's an underwater theme.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a bit of a worker placement.
Okay, I'm on the
Right,
bus.
but it's like a reverse worker placement in that you've got a board
Or
and you've got to get the
removal.
workers. No, you've got to get the workers onto your board.
So you've all got
Right,
player
okay.
card. You've got a player board each,
yeah.
and you've got to effectively find the worker and put him on your board.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's like nautical themed, so it's all kinds of like sea creatures and things like that you're doing.
Okay.
And then there's like a decoy card as well, isn't there? A
Yeah,
shark,
sharks,
which
yeah.
can completely screw you over, which means effectively means you miss a turn, which is quite annoying.
It took a while to get going, I must admit.
It did. It took a while
So
to get going. It's quite a hard game to describe.
Was this a review game, or was this...
No, this is a game me and Amanda have purchased,
Right.
and this is called Shapeshift. And just to aid you in case you are a bit slow on these worker placement games, all the water creatures are colour-coded and shape-coded as well.
Okay.
Just to give you, yeah.
So like you'd get a starfish, and it would, inside the picture of the starfish, you would have a star.
Makes sense.
Right? Stuff
Yeah.
like that. Crabs were like pentagrams or something like... Not pentagrams. Pentagons.
Pentagons.
Pentagons. No, the manta ray
Oh, the
was a
manta ray was a
pentagon.
pentagon, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Right. So what do you do to get workers off? Do you just literally go, I want that one, and take it off? Or
Well,
are
it's a
there
pool.
rules?
It's like a pool in front of you.
Yeah, there's a pool of workers in the centre of the board. Sorry. I've got about as far as I can with this.
We've carried you far enough.
We played a game called Shapeshift.
I'm guessing this is something for Jai.
Yes, it is. And I'm going to tell you now, Andy, this is my most played game over the last month. Because we played it with Jai, and I played it with Graham and Becky's kids, Molly and Austin, and we played it about 10 times that day.
And
Okay.
they hustled us at it.
Oh yeah, Jai proper
Oh,
hustled
he did,
us.
yeah. So we should say, dear viewers, this is indeed Shapeshift from Orchard Toys, I think.
Orchard Toys, yeah. Which is designed for ages 3 to 6.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not surprised you two found it too hard.
It was bloody demanding, mate. I tell you, we were learning as well as playing.
And it's basically like a bingo game. So you get a card, each person gets their own little play mat, and there's a bunch of animal things, and you turn them over one at a time and you hand them over.
Right.
And the idea is it's learning like pattern recognition, because I said all the little fish have got different shapes to them, and it's quite an obvious like shape, and they're all different colours. So you're supposed to be teaching, this is how to do it. And Jai played a couple of games with us where he played Genuine, and then all of a sudden he won a game without anyone picking up a single one of their fish.
Jeez.
And that's because he remembered exactly where he turned over and placed all the face down fish.
So he'd empty his player board, turn all his fish upside down next to his player board. None of us would, because we'd go and chat or so I'd get distracted. So he'd do all this reset, say, Daddy, come play again. So we sat down, me and Steve, and sat down and started playing. And he's just picking up fish, smacking them down his player card. Every now and then he might get, I think he was throwing a decoy in and get one wrong and pass it to Sue or something, right? But he was basically smashing it out of the park. And it took us 2 or 3 rounds to realise what he was doing.
Well done, boys. Well done. Outfoxed by a 3-year-old.
4. Thank you very much.
Oh, well, I'm doing me a disservice. Still, that's poor.
It is poor.
Well done. Well, I have been playing slightly more advanced games, although to be fair, not by much. Canvas is one of them, so that's caused a bit of a stir recently. That was delivered through Kickstarter. That must be about 2-3 weeks ago now.
Yeah, the expansion's on Kickstarter right now as well.
Yes, it is. I think I've backed it. I'll have to check later. And which came out quite a surprise. Bloody hell, that's out quick, but it does take a year to make these things.
Well, apparently in the UK we were actually the last people to get it. America had it like 6 months ago.
Yeah, it had taken a while to get to us. Alara kept asking me every week, "Is Canvas on the way? Is Canvas on the way?" No, it's on the boat. Yay! 6 weeks later, it kind of gets posted through the door. Canvas is surprisingly it's a lot simpler than I thought it would be, actually. The idea is that you are an artiste and you're making pictures. And the idea is you have these, I think they're probably acrylic, PVC type plastic cards, which are transparent apart from some screen printed artwork on each one. And the idea is that you can overlay each of these things to create a unique image. So obviously you can see through it. And at the bottom of each of these images, beneath all the major artwork, are 5 colours, essentially: red and blue and purple and green and yellow, I think it is. And there are 4 scoring cards which have conditions on them. So one of them, and on each of these colours, there are different symbols, like a triangle or a square or a sunshine or whatever. And the idea is that you will score rosettes, awards, if you manage to meet some of these criteria in creating a picture. So basically, there's a market, you'll draw a card, and then if you've got at least 3 cards, you can make a picture. You can only have up to 5 cards. So if you've got 5, it's a bit like in Ethnos, where if you get 10 cards in your hand, you've got to play. So it's a bit like that. And then you say, right, I'm making a picture, and obviously everyone decides whether you've met the criteria or not. And at the end of the game, it's basically, points win prizes. Most rosettes will score you a certain number of points. So it's surprisingly simple and yet fiendishly annoying, because a lot of the time you've got these things that overlay, and once you've overlaid them, oh great, I could use the purple one and the red one, but then you realise they're on different cards. You're like, bark! So then, yes, it's annoyingly frustrating. But it's literally that's it. You do that 3 times, and once you've done 3 pictures, you're out the game, and you basically wait for everybody else to finish, and then you sort of toss up the scores at the end. And that's it. It's really, really simple. It moves quite quickly, apart from when somebody gets massive brain burn and goes, oh, which ones of these do I use, and which one do I put together, and if I save that one for another picture, and so on and so forth. But other than that, very, very straightforward, very, very pretty, very light, very easy to teach. It's literally about 2 pages of rules, and that's it. And as you say, there's an expansion out for it at the moment, which I don't know what it adds, but probably just more
complexity, I would have thought. Because it's not a very complex. As you said, it's a simple game, but the thinking process is not straightforward, is it? Because of balance and everything, and you got 5 cards in front of you, and you're constantly putting them back in front of each other to work out what blocks what.
Yes.
What I found pretty cool about it was the way in which the market works, because you've got no currency, as it were. So you're given a bunch of these easel tokens, palette tokens.
Yes.
Not easels, and in a lot of these games, to get a card further along the line, you have to spend victory points or cash, depending on the system. But you've got these little pallets, and you have to spend the pallets, and they're not worth anything at the end of the game. But
they can be, but mostly, no, you're right.
Mostly they're not. But if you keep on buying cards that are further down the line, you're giving those to other players effectively, because if anyone picks up a card that's already got a palette on, they take the card and all the palettes. So you end up getting all the cards you really want, and then realising you have to take the first one from the line for the next 4 turns because you haven't got any options.
And you end up with utter dross that no one else wants.
Yeah.
Now, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? Yes, yeah, and of course, it kind of balances out, because if somebody else does the same thing, then obviously you can take a token. And sometimes you end up taking a card just because it's got a shitload of palettes on it, so you can actually buy some better cards later on. But of course, with the aggressively tight hand limit of only 5, of which you will play 3, you really have to be very selective in what you pick up, which is where the difficulty of the game comes. And of course, it rotates around pretty quickly. So I've now played it with 2, and I played it with 4. And with 4, that market changes so bloody quickly, because by the time it's got to you, 3 of the 4, I think it is, cards, it might be 5, 3 of the 5 cards will have been picked up. So God knows what the market looks like by the time it gets round to you. So it's one of those that you kind of have to think quickly on your feet, and you can be prone to a bit of AP.
Yeah.
If everyone starts thinking about stuff. But other than that, it's a very, very nice little game. I think it's okay. I'm not going to turn around and say I love it, but it's okay, and it's kind of one of those that you can introduce. It's definitely a gateway game, because it's easy to teach, and it's very pretty. It'll get people in, and it's easy to play. So I do get a bit of game genre vu with it.
Yeah, there's nothing in there which is particularly original, is there?
No.
But the original thing is the way in which collecting things covers other things.
Yes.
Which is a new slant on it, but I know what you mean. It feels very similar to a lot of other games because of it.
But definitely worth it, although There was I mean, the Kickstarter sort of deluxe version, which is the one I've got, obviously. I would say is probably not worth it. Because all the little extra you get wooden rosettes instead of cardboard ones, and you get wooden easels and wooden pallets instead of all the sort of the cardboard ones. But to be honest, the cardboard ones are perfectly fine and really quite thick stock, so they're not flimsy. And you get little wooden easels as well that you can put your little picture on. But there's only one per person, and you're making 3 pictures, and the bloody thing's so faffy, these things and just hold the damn thing up and show everybody instead. So the easels are a waste of time. And of course, with all that extra production, comes extra cost. And I think if you buy it in the shops now, it's about $60 or something ridiculous like that. Yeah, it's insanely expensive. Or maybe for both of them on the Kickstarter, something like that. So I think $60 for both of them with the expansion is probably okay. But if you get the deluxe ones, you're thinking, that's a bit steep because it's not a big box. It's probably about the size, it's about A4. So it's not a huge box, and it's only about maybe 2 centimeters thick. So you're not getting a huge amount for your money. So yes,
I think it's one of those things where if you got the base game itself, it's more than enough, and I think you get that for a reasonable price. I think in the end, my version, because I didn't get the Kickstarter accessories at all, I just went for the bog standard version, and I'm kind of glad I did in hindsight. Yeah,
I think you did well there, because all the extra stuff, it looks nice, but it's not necessary really.
I've got a really weird minor complaint with it. Right. It's designed to have baggies, but didn't come with any. Because the box doesn't have an insert, but it's got a printed insert at the back of the box, which explains where everything goes. And it's got a little, I wouldn't even call it a canvas mat. It's like a fabric mat that goes in. And it tells you to put these cards here, and these cards here, and these tokens here. But it doesn't give you any baggies or any kind of like structure to put them in. No. You just, it's a full instruction. You just throw them in, empty the box. But if things have got the little triangle so they can be hung on the rail in a shop.
It's got one of them.
It's got one of them on the box.
So you can hang it on the wall like a picture.
Yeah. But it also means if you haven't put your little tokens in baggies, they can all fall out of the little hole at the bottom of the box.
That's very true. That is very true. And also, they provide you a bunch of sleeves for the cards, because obviously being a card game, they'll get a bit of wear. But with the Kickstarter exclusive stuff, it's like an extra sort of very small, isn't it, 20 cards or something, deck of cards. So they provide you too many sleeves for the base stuff, but not enough to cover all the additional ones that they give you either. There's just little frustrations like that. It's not the end of the world, but you're kind of thinking, really, come on, you could have done better there. An extra couple of baggies, as you say, Steve, one for each type of rosette, and just enough to cover the number of sleeves. It only needed like 8 more. It wasn't like, we're not talking 100 or anything. It was a small number, so just a little annoyance there. Oh well. Anyway, that's Canvas. It's all right. It's fun. It's easy to teach, and it's very, very beautiful.
I've only played one game so far, so I can't really pass too much judgment on it. But I kind of liked what I saw, but I can't disagree with anything you've said at all.
Yeah, it scales nicely, because it is pretty much multiplayer solitaire in many ways. There's, other than robbing a card that somebody wants, which you don't really know that they want, there's not really much you can do to dick an opponent too much. So it is a multiplayer solitaire, kind of do your own thing game. So it's fine. The other one I've been playing is Iwari.
Iwari.
Which is much more along your kind of game. Or I say much more along the kind of game that Polyhedron Collider likes, because we're a bunch of dicks and we hate each other when we play games. This Iwari I got actually a little while ago, and this is by Thundergriff Games. So the same people who did Tang Garden. So this is like really high on the production pretty scale. Like we're talking super duper primo beautiful stuff here. And Iwari is, I suppose the best way to describe it is an area control game. But it's quite a simple one in principle. So the idea is that you are an tribe trying to sort of colonize a world, and each world is represented basically by a small board, and each board is double-sided, and there are 4 boards in the game, so there's tons of flexibility in the game. So you only play on one board and one side of it at any particular time, and essentially it's just different arrangements of different colours, basically, and each colour represents an element. Not that that really matters, but you have cards, and you have 3 cards in your hand, and you can play a card to put down a tent which little sort of miniature little people tents, or a totem, which is like these big round discs, into one of the lands that match the card of the symbol that you play. And you can play up to 2 cards, or sorry, up to 3 cards, because if you play 2 cards of the same, they can kind of act as a joker. So if you don't have exactly the right cards, you can play 2 the same and it'll act to where you want. And you can only act in one area at once. So, and there's little areas where you can put tents, and there's this bloody great area in the middle of each area where you put this totem, and the totem gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's these sort of little roads that the tents sit on, and you can string together these tents, which will score you points. And the idea is basically to control as much of the area as you can. But the thing is, of course, you can get in each other's way. And the idea is that when you score, and the scoring is a bit weird, but basically the more stuff you have in an area, the better. So you want lots of that. So, but the thing is, if you're second behind somebody who's got more than you, you'll still get their points. So if they've got, say, 5 in an area and you've got 4, they'll get 9 points because they control the area and they get all the points for that area. Whereas you've got 1 less, you'll get their number, so you'll get 5 points. So it's not a horrible scoring system. But then there's a link between each area, and this is where the totems come in. So if you have a totem in, say, the blue area and then a neighbouring green area, and if you've got one of your totems on each one and you've got the most, you'll score the total number of totem total number of totem lumps, basically, from those areas. The scoring sort of works in a similar way again. So it's like a double scoring mechanism. But if you don't have a totem in both of them, you don't score anything. So you've got to control lots and lots of it and have little bits of your stuff in all of the areas in one go. Okay. But you can't have. But the number of totems you have is limited by the number of tents in the area as well. So it's limited. So you can't just keep spamming things down in one great go. And you get points for sort of making like what they call settlements, is basically strings of tents along these roads. So basically the idea is, the reason I say it's going to be good for us is because we'll just keep getting each other's way. And that's part of the game. No, because I did it to Alora last time we played. I basically just put 2 tents down right in the middle of her road going, no, you are not getting settlements, Gail. No. Why did you do that? Because I'm stopping you getting all the points. That's why. It'll just be war. But the thing is, it's really simple, and yet really very, very clever and very, very beautiful, and I really like it. So in a way, it's kind of like, it's almost like Ethnos in a way again, that in levels of simplicity, that you need a majority in an area to score points, basically. So it's a similar sort of idea to that. But the way you do it is very, very, very different. And I haven't really played anything like it before. But it's very cool, and it definitely benefits from more players. Because Laura and I played it with just the 2 of us, so you get a bot, and the thing is, you both control the bot, so you can kind of use the bot to help you out. Yeah. And the problem is, Laura and I did that pretty much too much, and the bot ended up winning.
I, for one, welcome our new machine masters.
Yes, indeed. Yes, our overlords were very clever. So yeah, just pitting the bot against your opponent is not necessarily a good idea. But it is. I'm really glad I got it. It's such a clever game for such a simple mechanic. It is literally play a card, put a tent down, play another card, put either another tent or a totem down, draw up, and then next player. That's it. It's as simple as that. And the game is over. You could probably rattle through in about half an hour.
Looking at some of the pictures on it, I have to admit, the artwork is pretty gorgeous.
Oh, it is.
But I have got one criticism. You know these things you keep calling tents?
Yes.
They just look like pants to me.
Actually, is that the little blue ones?
It's
the ones
that look
variety.
Like there's a variety of M&S knickers.
No, I can. Sid said it. I can see it. There is a variety of underwear there available.
Now you've said it, I will not be able to unsee
it's
that.
The green ones, especially. The green ones are the one that really led me down.
They look like tighty whities, don't they?
They look like a pair
they
of
look like boxer briefs.
Yeah. There is a set that looks like tighty whities, and there's something that looks like trunks. Yes, now you've mentioned it. God damn it.
Sorry, I'm just adding my own unique sort of value to this podcast.
That's okay. I got a Kickstarter sort of deluxe version of this with an expansion chucked in as well, so which adds, I think, a 6th or 7th element, so basically a colour of player, which acts in a slightly different way. I've not used that yet, but I can strongly recommend Iwari, actually. It's a really, really good little game. Really like it. And it's one of those that you think a lot, but it's because it's really simple, you can get into it very quickly. But yeah, you think about it a lot, and yeah, there is a lot of player interaction. There's direct. It's not conflict exactly, because once your thing's down on the board, it cannot move and it will stay there for the rest of the game. But people can do things around you to influence the effect of what you've just done. So, for example, Caroline, one of our friends, she basically the move I was going to do, basically dumped down 2 big totems into one area and maxed it out because there's only 4 tents in that little area, so there was only 4 totems allowed. I was like, and because of that, she's got something like 50 points because it connected with about 5 other areas, and she got so many points from that. So it's a really, really clever game, and it does reward forethought. So you've got to sort of plan ahead, but of course, your opponents are also planning ahead as well. Very, very clever game, and very, very pretty.
That's kind of what Fundy-Lift do, isn't it, now?
Yes, clever and pretty. Because, again, Tang Garden, that's stunning as well. I mean, they are super, super pretty games.
Well, thank you very much for listening. Sorry for the long wait. It's been like 4 weeks since we last recorded.
It does feel like a long time. It's my fault for having no internet last week, to be fair, so I do apologise, listeners.
Is that your fault, is it? That your internet went down? Or did someone pour orange juice down the back of it?
It's not my fault, I suppose. But it was. Let's not name organisations that could come back and sue
for
us
legal
reasons.
Yes. Don't we done for slander?
No, we don't. Let's avoid that, shall we?
Thank you for listening. We have been Polyhedron Collider. If you've enjoyed this episode, please give us a review on your podcast platform of choice. If you want to speak to us, we are on Twitter. We are collectively at Polyhedron C, and you can find me at Wahothamadenga.
You can find me at Sonic H with 0. You can find Mr. Cage at John_Cage, and Rory at Rory J Summers. Sid still hasn't got an acceptable Twitter handle yet, so you cannot talk to him. But we are also on Facebook, and we have a Board Game Geek Guild, which is number 2726. And we are still active on polyhedroncollider.com if you want to see this and indeed every other podcast, another article that we have ever written, which is going back a while now.
It is indeed. We should be back in a few weeks. Until then, happy gaming.
Tatty bye.
Cheerio.